right, Jimmy, this is our second ever remote pod.
You know what's crazy?
You look like you're in a closet. Are you needing to tell us something?
Yeah, it's my cry closet after having to watch the Johns brothers this weekend.
So real quick, give us an update. You're in Florida, right? You love Florida a lot.
Yeah, I just went to Florida, a little vacay action. I was just thinking, Tyler, we're almost at like 2 years of the podcast, and in 2 years, we've only not been in the same room twice.
We love to be in the same room as each other.
We clearly love to be around each other.
Yeah,
Imagine being these other pods that they do it completely remote. Like I want to touch you and feel you and feel your breath on
exactly.
my neck.
I love it. Keep going. Anyways, yeah, so this one will be slightly different than all the other ones. It's going to be a little bit abbreviated, as we say almost every single time. But first, we got to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, which is the Pickler. We love the Pickler. They're the number one online, or not online, indoor pickleball facility in the entire world. They have, I want to say, over 45 open locations, which is really cool. So chances are you live next to one. If you live next to one, go check them out. Tell them the guys at KOTC sent you. If you're interested in starting your own franchise, reach out to them and let them know that we sent you. Also, Pickleball Central is a sponsor of this show. Enter KOTC code at checkout, or you have to click a direct link down below. We also have one last sponsor for this show, which is Stack Athletics. They just dropped their new spring summer collection. It looks incredible, feels great.
They have
They have new
They have
colors.
polos, Tyler.
Are you wearing it right now?
No, but they have them. They don't make plus sizes for me.
You should have wore it out to Disney. You would have got a lot of compliments.
I should have. Listen, Stack is crushing it. All of their stuff is amazing. Yeah, check it out. And we have an affiliate link and our code KOTC. So
exactly. Go check them out. Stackathletics.com. Use code KOTC to save on your order. It's going to make you look and feel better when you are playing pickleball, and also not only pickleball, but when you're working out and doing other activities. All right, Jimmy. So like I said, you are in Florida in a closet, random.
You're in your gaming stations where StarCraft happens.
This is where we initially did our first podcast.
Yeah, the OG studio.
A lot of feelings coming back to me right now. Who would have thought? So give us a real quick recap on MLP Columbus. That was this last weekend, and then we'll get right into the drama after that.
Yeah, I mean, MLP Columbus, look, the drama overshadowed it. It is what it is. It sucks. But Columbus was a quick turnaround. I mean, immediately after Orlando, we turned around, we go to Columbus. And Columbus was kind of overshadowed by a few different things. Number one, CJ Klinger was sick.
And rumors are that he had the flu.
Yes, and this is his hometown, Columbus, playing for his hometown team. And so I'm sure he was bummed to not be there. And then we had, obviously, we'll get into the Carolina Hogs and how they use 47 different players. But the reality with Columbus, Tyler, is some things never change. Number one, the Shock. I mean, the Shock are proving to be the best team in MLP right now. They've lost one game. Did you know that?
Yeah, so this last round of matches for them, I think, was slated to be a little bit easier. They played a lot of the lower end teams that were at the bottom of the rankings at the moment. And so I don't think that was, to be honest, I don't think that was unexpected at all.
Yeah, so they played Atlanta, who they beat 4-0. First day, Carolina had a full squad on the very first day, and they played Phoenix.
A full squad of 4 players.
Of their 4 players, and they played Phoenix, and they ended up losing 23-21 in a dream breaker.
Real quick, on the Hogs, you got Ben Johns, Colin Johns, Tammy Emmerich, and Caitlin Christian was injured or sick.
She was out with injury, so they used Liz Trulick.
Yep.
And Liz had to actually leave early because Liz I think she had prior engagement.
Yep.
So she was only available for 1 or 2 days anyways.
Yep.
So Jack, Tyson, Jeannie, and Jesse beat the Hogs on day one. Um, that sounds bad. The Shock and the Bouncers, Shock win 4-0. And then the Flames actually take Phoenix. I mean, excuse me, take Columbus.
Whenever you talk about the Flames, you have to
Dude, have you seen Angels in the Outfield? Have you ever seen that movie?
know,
It's a
but they've
Disney
been doing
movie.
that.
And
Yes.
and he does this, the kid, and it like calls the Angels to come help the players, the baseball players. And he's like, it could happen. And then they're like, and he does this to tell the manager whenever there's Angels helping. It's like his signal. And so whenever I see the Flames do that, I can't help but think of Angels in the outfield.
You like it though, right?
I mean, look, they're making it fun. If you're not going to be good at pickleball, at least make it fun. And so they're doing their best to do that. So they end up
Okay.
losing Dreambreaker to Daskew Roscoe, who was filling in for CJ Klinger, Paris Todd, and Leia. I would say the surprising thing in that matchup was that Paris and Daskew lost to Jesse and Tyson
Hmm.
11-8. So I thought that was a little bit surprising there. And so then the next day, that was Thursday. Let's pull here. So Friday is when we get into a little bit of controversy, Tyler.
All right.
So Friday, the Bouncers are playing the
Also,
Hogs.
real quick, this is played in Columbus. It's at Pickle&Chill. Is that correct?
Yeah, so to give a little background on Pickle&Chill, because I've talked to a couple pros about this. Pickle&Chill is the former Ohio State tennis facility. So
Okay.
this is where the Ohio State Buckeyes played a lot of their tennis matches, well, all their tennis matches. It's also hosted 10 ATPs and a WTA. Now, I don't know in fairness, I don't know what changes have been made to the facilities,
Mhm.
but there are several pros that I spoke to who have played tennis in college at that facility, and they said that the lighting was always fine during the college tennis days.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know what's changed, what things have changed, but
Do you have your light meter right now? I feel like we should
my
take a test of your room. It
I
looks a
know how
little bit
many
on the dark side.
how many lumens. So yeah, so what happens is Atlanta plays Carolina literally in the middle of the match. I mean, Ben and Colin gave zero effort. Like, let's call it what it is. Let's stop with the bull crap. And I know that all their friends are going to bat for him, and that's fine. It's cute and all, but they gave no effort in that match. They didn't try. Vivian Glausman literally had an overhead, and Ben just stood there, didn't make any effort for it, stood on the line. I mean, it was just hard to watch, to be honest with you. We've seen this from them in the past, right, Tyler?
Hmm.
We saw it in Utah last year. We've seen multiple times. So after that match ends, they lost. They pull out, both of them. And they pull out because of the lighting in the facility. So, yeah, I mean, I think it causes a ripple effect. Their team stayed, the rest of their team. So Martin comes and fills in for Ben, and Ross Whitaker, who was recently signed, fills in for Colin. Tammy Emmerich, and then Liz Trulick actually had to leave. And so Zoe, was it Weil?
Whale. I don't know.
Zoe Weil.
Weil, I believe.
Yeah, she comes and fills in. So like now it's a completely different roster. So this is where kind of the shit storm begins. Uh so let me just start with this. Okay. Number one, Ben and Colin have a history of absolutely tanking and not trying. So for me personally, like you guys can all disagree with me. I had people arguing with me on every social media site there is, and that's fine. But for me personally, this is not the first time they've done this. So they have not earned the benefit of the doubt. That's number one for me. Number two, there Colin is making $500,000 a year to be about the 40th ranked player in the country right now without Ben by his side. He's literally done nothing without Ben. He's done nothing since him and Ben have split up. I'm not even sure he's even made a semi. I don't even know if he's made a semi since him and Ben have split up. He may have made one or two quarters at most, and
Yeah.
he's done zero in mixed for a decade, his
Mhm.
entire career. So he's making $500,000. Ben's making 2.5 million, according to his own numbers that he gave Forbes in that article they did. I think it was Forbes or CNBC, one of those. So we've got $3 million between these two players, and they choose to pull out of an event because they don't like the lighting on the courts. Now,
Hmm.
Ben comes back after he gets the backlash, and my own personal opinion, but they start trying to say it's a safety issue, and they start trying to play hero and state things like, "Oh, well, if we don't stand up to the PPA, then nobody will, and we got to start standing up. There's got to be standards and there's got to be protocols." And we pulled out our light meter, which is wild that they had one, but whatever, do you nerds? But they pulled out their light meter and said that it was a third the lumens of a tennis match at ATP event, which is wild since that facility has hosted ATP events. Now, I
Hmm.
will say this, maybe the lighting has changed.
If anything, it's gotten better. They're not going to go backwards with lighting.
It would be kind of wild if they were like, oh, we're going to convert this to pickleball and we're going to make the lighting worse.
Yeah, take that, pickleball players.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, they complained, they pulled out. This is where it gets kind of wild to me is that one, they left. If you choose not to play, they started saying it was a safety issue. Okay.
Hmm.
If you choose not to play, then why did you have to leave? You can't support your team that's still there playing, right? I mean, that's one issue. Number two, they specifically mentioned Ben's eye issue, and this is where I really struggle. Ben's eye issue is not my problem. It's not your problem. It's not UPA's problem. It's not PPA's problem. It's not MLP's problem. Tyler, it's not Ben's eye issue is Ben Johns' problem. There is zero obligation for anybody that is related to pro pickleball to accommodate Ben Johns' eye issue. There's not. How many players wear contact lenses? How many players have astigmatism? How many players have light sensitivity?
I
I
think it
bet.
is up to UPA to have a certain threshold. Now, if they do meet that threshold, then yeah, like you said, it is
So
up to Ben. It is Ben's fault, everything like that. Yeah.
so look, this is where I think that Ben had an opportunity to do something and he screwed it up because he's lost his credibility by tanking in the past,
Yeah.
especially at MLP. If they want uniform standards throughout PPA, which by the way, I mentioned this on the pod, what, 2 or 3 episodes ago about player negotiations and these new contracts. And I said that one of the things I felt like they needed to do was to get some uniform standards on court size, lighting, we can add to that, um, replays on every court, you know. I mean, let's not make the players buy their own water in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that. There's got to be uniform standards.
But once you meet that threshold, that standard, then everything else is up to the player. You can't have those excuses.
Sure, I agree. And so I think that what happened was Ben pulled out because of the lighting. This is my own personal opinion now. And he got backlash for it. And he didn't get the Ben Johns support that Ben Johns has always he's been untouchable. And how he's acted lately and how Colin has unfortunately brought him down, he's not untouchable anymore. And he was getting killed. Not only was he getting killed by the fans and the media, but I mean, his player, Anna Bright, I mean, you name a player other than his close friends, they all were pissed. I mean, the Shock played in that same facility all weekend long with no issues,
Yeah.
right? And then the worst part of the whole thing is one, Colin doesn't have an eye issue. Two, Colin's wearing protective eyewear and he still pulls out. Why? I don't know, because he's got to do whatever Ben does, I guess. Number two, Colin goes and uses Hayden getting hit as like his example.
Hmm.
Like, see, because he can't help but be a douche about things. He can't help but make himself seem like the smartest guy in the room. And he even made a comment like, maybe we know what we're talking about. Like, you really are going to how many times do players get hit in a match?
Yeah.
I mean, especially Hayden. No offense to Hayden, but Hayden gets hit a lot. He
Yeah.
got hit 5 times by Will Howes outdoor in the brightest lighting you've ever seen. Right?
Take
And
that.
so to use that as his example was just ridiculous. Um, and so yeah, like I said, if they want uniform standards for pickleball, that's not a problem. And I've even talked to Connor Pardo about this, and told him he needs to do this. I don't think that that's the thing. I think that the way they go about doing it, the way you quit on your teammates, these are freaking homeschooled babies that have never played team sports, right? You can't quit mid-match on your teammates. You owe it to your teammates to finish the match.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but finish the tournament. If you want to, you want to file a protest,
Well, that's the
then
thing too, is this is MLP. If it were PPA, they just pull out. Like they're only affecting him and his partner, him and Colin, or whoever it might be.
yeah.
But when you're on a team, it's quite a bit
And
different.
not only are you affecting the team, you're affecting the 5 teams that have to play you that week.
Exactly.
And
You're
then the
affecting
other,
your owners, the money they paid for it, and then also, I mean, for example, Connor Garnett, he mentioned this to me. He said, "We played Miami. We lost to them in a dream breaker. Miami goes on to play their team, and they're a significantly weaker team the week later. It
exactly,
hurts us to have to play them another time."
100%. Anybody that got to play Carolina this week was what had a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's ridiculous. It's a joke. We've seen Colin's email. We know how he feels, and so that's why they lose the benefit of the doubt over this. And look, like I said, if they want to have these standards, that's fine, but you're doing it the wrong way.
Hmm.
It's immature. It's like I mean, they have a lot of growing up to do. And I really think that they feel like they're untouchable in this sport, as opposed to and Deckel, look, Deckel makes this post, right? And he's saying, all we want is standards in the sport. Okay, Deckel, that's fine. And nobody disagrees with that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think any of the pro players disagree. But your bestie, your BFF, tanked an entire match and then quit.
Well, not only that, but it's been a history of that. That's the issue.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't once, it was multiple times. And the problem with it is like you're defending him because you got pickleball getaways and all these other things, and you're actually on one right now. And I'm sure there's questions that you are stuck answering. Like, why did Ben and Colin pull out while you're trying to collect people's money using Ben and Colin's name? I mean, that's got to be tough for like a business owner like Deckel. I mean that sincerely.
Yeah.
And so I understand the argument there. And Tina, I love Tina Pisnik, and she's kind of making the same argument. And I get that. Nobody, if it was just the lighting issue, I think people would be like, okay, Ben's being a baby again. But he
I
makes a
think
good
Zane
point.
brought up a good point, and it's one thing had he pulled out before the tournament, or
Yeah.
even after one match and said, "Hey, the lighting's bad." But the fact, like you said, that he didn't stay there for the matches afterwards, it didn't look like he was putting in any effort
Yeah.
during those matches. I mean, it
He
all
tanked.
goes against him.
And then Anna Bright makes a good point. She says, you're worried about safety. He keeps bringing up safety because I think that was his crutch. That was his way to save face after everybody jumped on him, is that it's a safety issue.
Hmm.
If you were that worried about safety, when Vivian Glosman had an overhead, you wouldn't have held the line and stood there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You would have turned your
Or, I
back or
mean,
whatever. You would have
if
put
it's
on some
just about
goggles.
safety, you just wear goggles, which I love so much,
Yeah.
and you're protecting your face, your
Yeah.
eyes.
Or maybe if you're so worried about safety, you don't headhunt Kwang Duong.
Hmm.
You're the all of a sudden you're chief safety officer of the PPA and you're gonna headhunt somebody. You're so concerned about safety and someone losing an eye that you headhunted someone. Not only did you headhunt someone, but your dipshit brother literally said that it was part of the sport. Your idiot brother said it was part of the sport. And then you said, if you're going to hit hard balls at me, I'm going to come back at you. So, Chief Safety Officer Ben Johns, let's get him a little orange vest and some friggin' whistle so he can wear it to matches now.
Does this hat work with him?
Yeah, seriously. Chief Safety Officer all of a sudden is worried about everybody else's eyes when he tried to take a dude's head off.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here with that. Like, just call it what it is. You didn't like the lighting. You have an eye issue. You want everybody to accommodate you. You couldn't see very well. It makes you look bad because you're getting your ass kicked by friggin' Atlanta bouncers. I mean, Todd Foe was not good in MLP this weekend. He wasn't. And he smacked you.
Yeah.
But you needed that excuse and you needed to come up with something. And you hate more than anything in this world that the playing field is not level. And indoors, when you can't see, it's even more level. And so you're bitching about it.
So I have two examples or two things that I thought about. So very recently in Orlando, the courts. The court colors for myself were horrendous. I grew up and I was raised not wanting, or my parents taught me not to complain about too much. And so whenever I lost or whatever, it was always my fault. I tried to do better. I need to find ways to win, et cetera, et cetera. So when I get on this court in Orlando, the colors are bright orange and bright blue. And I kid you not, I could not track the ball for my life. I felt like a fish out of the water. And anytime somebody sped up a ball from down below, I lost it 100% of the time. But if you look at the match, like, I'm not trying to give myself praise, but people probably wouldn't know I was having those issues because I was giving energy and I was trying to win every single point.
You should have just quit.
I didn't know I could, but now that I know that, moving forward, I might just have to pull out my detector.
But don't worry, Tyler. Ben did say, in his defense, he did say, we are willing to play our matches at another time on a court that fits our specifications and standards.
Is this a ploy for their business? Because they have a
it literally feels like
or
it.
Indoor
You know what else
consulting
I heard,
business.
by the way? Austin Pickle Ranch is like one of the Colin Johns consulting, one of the first ones that they called and used. And MLP is not even using the courts that Ben and Colin consulted on. They're putting in outdoor courts.
Wait, it's outdoors or indoors?
It's outdoor. It's at Austin Pickle Ranch, but they're going to put the courts outside.
Gotcha.
So they're not even using the courts that Ben and Colin consulted on, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. And then the other example I thought of, there's this one player a couple of years ago. They're still somewhat around. They don't really play PPA tournaments anymore. But anytime there is rain or going to be rain, this person didn't want to play. They didn't want to risk it. And for the first few tournaments that this person stopped playing or took 30, 40, 50 minutes for the courts to dry or for them to be safe conditions, people kind of went along with it. But after the 5th, 6th, 7th time of them doing this, people just got so fed up with it and they started forfeiting them. They started just kind of pushing them to the side. And so I feel like it's somewhat similar. Had this been the first time they complained about it, or even the second time, even third time, I think they would have a little bit more validation. But after the third time, it begins to hold true.
But
my
Tyler,
opinion.
What's crazy is I think the complaining we've come to are used to it and we accept it. We know that these two are just going to bitch about everything, right? Because if the conditions aren't perfect, they're going to complain. Colin's going to bitch about the ball. They're going to bitch about the lighting. And so the complaining wasn't even like, it's annoying and it gets on people's nerves and they're literally destroying their brand and what little, fanfare they had left. I mean, Colin never had any to begin with, but I think Ben is killing himself. Annalie is going this way and Ben is going this way. I really believe that. But the complaining is whatever. It's the tanking.
Yeah.
If you tank in any other sport, so there's a player, John Tay Porter, in the NBA, who his friends bet on him, Tyler. And then what he did was he played one play in a game and then he took himself out because he had an injury. Right? He's going to prison. Like if there was gambling on pickleball and they did something like that, if you tank, he got, not only that, John Tay Porter got banned for life from the NBA. I mean, if you tank in any other sport, if you blatantly tank, the suspensions and the fines are out of control. Yeah. I mean, you may never recover from that. And this is the third time we know of for sure that they've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible to me. And if PPA doesn't drop the hammer this time, they're making a massive mistake.
I was surprised at the amount of people, and listen, whether or not they like me or not, I like the Johns, I like Ben, I like Colin. Like, they're good, they're nice people to have conversations with.
This has nothing to do with who they like.
Exactly. Nice. And I was very surprised at the amount of people that I thought were friends with him that came out against what he was doing. For example, Richie Tuazon, he was the owner of the BLQK, his first team, MLP team, and he came out and said, hey, I don't agree with what happened.
Richie, every single owner feels the same way, I promise you. They have millions of dollars invested in this league.
Yeah.
They know their money is going to helping to pay Ben Johns this year.
Yeah.
The owners are putting in $10 million a year. They're investing in their teams. They're doing all of these things. And so, when you see the top player, the guy that's on championship court every single week, the guy who gets paid more than anybody else in the entire sport, The guy who, if it's, if it's a televised match, he's the one that's getting the fanfare. He's in the commercials, and he goes and takes the match. It's a horrible look. If you're a freaking DoorDash and you just paid however many millions of dollars to be part of MLP, and you see the freaking star of MLP tank, I mean, you got to be pissed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Yola, I can't even imagine how Yola feels.
Will Howells is a star of MLP.
Speaking of that, speaking of Yola, Ben Johns is worried about safety, and he's with the paddle company that started the freaking hot paddle revolution. He wasn't worried about safety when he had the hottest paddle on the market. He wasn't worried about eye protection when all the Yolas were delaminating and people were freaking getting drilled over and over.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have it both ways. You need to decide. And that's where I'm struggling with this, because like I said, Deckel's statement that he made was very smart and very
well. It's just putting stuff out there that should be common knowledge. Of course, we want safety standards. Of course, we want this.
But
like,
it's the
that's not
tanking.
addressing the point. Of course, we want all of that. That's
Yes.
obvious.
When Travis Rettenmeier is the voice of reason, something's wrong. But Travis was dead on. He was spot on it. And Travis is right. Like, it's the tanking. It's that these guys are getting paid. And look, even Travis said, we got to make money. The sport's got to make money before Ben is out there making demands. Ben, do you want perfect lighting in every single venue that you play in? Then guess what? Get back some of that $2.5 million you overpaid.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, the players should have a players union. I am totally on board with the players having representation. They deserve it. They need representation.
That won't happen for 5+ years.
Well, but an actual players union?
Yeah, but it won't happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Where you split revenue, all of you are taking a massive pay cut.
Yeah.
So that's not the answer either. So the reality of it is Ben, you probably, if you do just the math, he's contracted for 26 events, making $2.5 million. That means he's getting $100,000 per event. I'm guessing he gets more than all 6 of the other players for Carolina combined.
Yeah.
For that event, right? And you can't bother show up. And the worst thing is Colin doesn't have an ISU, and Colin was wearing goggles.
Yeah.
So I'm confused why he pulled out. On top of all of it, the other thing is just kind of put this to bed, is that you owe it to your team.
Yeah.
Like, you owe it to Tammy. You owe it to freaking Liz. You owe it to anybody else on that team that is willing to play, at least to give an effort when you're on the court.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And then you left and you didn't support them. That was so bad. The lighting was so bad you couldn't even stay there. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, that's horrible. And honestly, dude, Dundon, he has some culpability here too, because he's clearly not providing it. We talked about this in Orlando. He's not providing his team with much. They don't even have a coach. They don't have anybody on the sideline. So Ben has nobody to answer to. Dundon needs to be on the phone, and he needs to say, look, dude, this is my investment and you're embarrassing. And this is an embarrassment. And I hope that they drop the hammer on him. I don't know what it's going to be. They said that, I think they're very smart and waiting until after MLP was over.
So what would be an appropriate result of this situation?
I think, knowing their fine structure, it's got to be 100K plus. And Desk, you got 50, dude.
Do you think
tanking is worse than cheating
as well?
I think tanking's worse than cheating, because at least cheating, you're trying.
Yeah.
I think 100K and a suspension.
For what?
A suspension from a PPA.
Well, they want to be suspended from MLP, so.
Well, it's got to be from a PPA. Here's the problem. They won't get suspended from PPAs because that actually hurts PPA.
Well, yeah, but like I said, they're fine not playing MLP. So that.
And what you do is you suspend them, you hit them in the pocketbook, and then you take points away. And then that messes with it. Not only does that messes with their seating for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Why not? People get penalized points all the time in other sports.
Yeah.
In F1 or NASCAR, right? You lose points if you cause a crash or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dock them points.
You heard it here first.
Anyways, dude, I'm just embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them. I sat on this call, Tyler, at the beginning of the year. And literally one of the questions that was asked, Hannah Johns was on the call. Someone said, "What are the Johns brothers?" They were straight up. They said, "What are the Johns brothers? Um, motivation or what would they say? Level of commitment to MLP this year?" And Hannah said, "They are all in. They're excited. They're gonna play hard." We didn't even make it through friggin' 1.5 events,
Yeah.
and we already have this bullshit again.
Are they in Austin? Do you know?
They're not in Austin.
Gotcha.
They're not. But like I said, Ben was willing to rearrange the entire league schedule
Yeah.
so he could play in ideal conditions.
Just put it, I mean, I agree with everything that you've said, but also for myself, like I hate playing with shadows. Shadows are the hardest thing for me to
Yeah.
play in, and they're almost there on every single court. They always have these crazy shadows.
There's a thing called photophobia where you have light sensitivity. And so if
Uh-huh.
it's too bright, you struggle. So should some players be allowed to ask them to dim the lights
Yeah.
and they could play? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's just
You
so many
can't do
things.
that. There's just, like you said, there's every player is going to have different requests, different personalities, different preferences.
Yeah.
Like I said, this one player, they wouldn't play unless the court was 100%,
Is
100%
it is
dry.
it was it
When
Kyle
every
Yates?
single court, what?
Was it Kyle Yates?
It was not.
No.
When every single court was playing except for this one court.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just there's just players like that. It's a weird situation, and like I said, they can't accommodate. So
All right, real quick, we got to give a big shout out to our next sponsor, which is C&D Pickleball Nets. We love C&D. They just came out with a new net called the Challenger Net. It retails at $15.99. Go get yours at bestpickleballnets.com and use code KOTC. The weather is heating up and it's beautiful right now. Everyone is starting to play pickleball outdoors. It's incredible. When you drive past all these parks, they're all filled. And yeah, go get your pickleball net. You can set it up in a driveway, church, gym, anywhere you want. These nets will provide the best experience for all.
yes, check them out. They're going to be at APP Cincinnati coming up.
So they took a picture of their trailer. They got a massive picture of Callie on it.
I know they do. Yeah.
They got to switch that to me and you, or just you.
Yeah, I feel like they need a bigger trailer to get me on there, but
Did you see? So not to bash Callie by any means, but she is known for attempting Ernie's. Did you see this last weekend?
Yes.
So she got called on like 2 or 3 illegal Ernie's, and the funniest, well, it's not funny. It is funny, but not to her. So she did an Ernie on match point against them, and she thought she had won the point, and so she turned around and screamed, and then the ref said, "Nope, that's an illegal kitchen violation," and that's how the match ended.
Poor Callie. Poor Callie. Did you see Jay was using a Yola this weekend?
He was using the Yola, and people said he's playing good. So
He's
who knows?
playing well. Healthy Jay is a solid player.
Yeah, I'd like to see him in another 3 to 5 tournaments, see how it's going, if he's still using the Yola. See how he's playing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, real quick. So another couple talking points. I think you laid out the groundwork. I thought you gave a lot of good information. I thought all the points were pretty valid. It'll be interesting to see the backlash or the penalties that come from it. Like you said, I personally think if PPA wants to make a statement, they have to do something. They can't just let this one go. As we both talked about, this was not the first, second, or even third time this has occurred. So they need to make an example if they want to continue.
Could you imagine, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of a baseball player you would know, but we'll say Shohei Ohtani.
I know him.
Fellow Asians. If he was like, hey, he goes to the Dodgers and he was like, hey, so I only have 20/40 vision.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that I can only play day games for you guys and not night games?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he's the highest paid player in baseball, just like Ben's the highest paid player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how would that go? Like, how would that work? It's just incredible.
I mean, for me, I just struggle. It's like, if you're on the court, just play, just give it your all, like give it 100%.
Yeah.
Like whether there's issues or not, just play.
But also, could he not have picked up the phone and called Dundon, or picked up the phone and called Pardo and said, hey, this lighting sucks? And Connor could have said, hey, I appreciate you bringing it to our concern. And Ben could have said, hey, the lumens are this, and it's really hard to pick up the ball. And Connor could have said, okay, maybe we can bring in some portable lighting. Maybe we can, or maybe Connor just says, I appreciate you bringing it to our concern. There's nothing we can do about it now. So, maybe get some eye protection, whatever you can do, and then let's address it moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I just feel like there's other ways that this could have been handled, and that's the bigger thing. And I get that, like I said, I get Deckel, trying to defend it, but again, they blatantly tank. They're quitters, dude. Like they're literally quitters. I've never seen that in a professional sport. And Christian Alshon said it best. Like today, we're not going to be taken
Who said
serious.
it best?
Christian, he said, today is
Who?
not your boy Christian Alshon.
My guy, Christian Alshon.
He said, today is not the day that we're going to be taken serious as a professional sport, but we're going to try again next week.
Next week.
Yep. So, all right. Questions? We have a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah. So actually, this one just kind of came to me on the fly. I'm sure you saw it as well. What are your thoughts surrounding MLP in terms of the player banters, the shock, Kate Fahey saying what she says, Federico, all this stuff? What are your thoughts with the direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if it's legitimate, I think some
So
of it's legitimate.
what I'm referring to this last event
The effing B.
Columbus.
Yeah, Kate called Fed
yeah.
an effing, basically the same thing that Hayden called Annalie.
Yeah.
Called her an effing B. Called him an effing B. Funny enough, it didn't get as much traction because I think it was a female calling it to a male. Number two, Fed obviously just laughed and he kind of like looked at the ref, looked around, and was like, "Hey, is anything going to be done?" I mean, the Shock have 4 insanely fiery players. I don't think that that's the end of that from them. I think we're going to see that competition come out of them. Now, do I think that there's a line there? Sure. I mean, even in the NBA, you get a technical foul for saying certain things. People are like, "Oh, the NBA, they say that all the time." If somebody said something like that and showed up another play in the NBA, they'd probably get a tech.
Yeah.
And in pickleball, we haven't really seen that yet, or we don't even really have a line yet. Like I said, I've said this a million times. I like players. I will take players caring over players that don't care all day long.
Yeah.
And even if I think that Kate hitting herself in the head and freaking out and calling Fed an effing B and all the things is a little bit over the top, at least she cares and she's competitive.
Yeah.
That's like a fire you never want her to lose. Where on the flip side, we have players that don't try.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that MLP it's exciting. That's the one thing though that we do see is there's exciting matches. We had 23-21 in 3 Dream Breakers over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff is what makes it great. And look, Phoenix is a circus, right? They built a circus. They built
you have to do the bird stuff every time you talk about them.
They built the most Instagram followers they can find. Jeannie Bouchard literally is flying in the day of events, like 2 hours before, right? She's not practicing.
Why waste time?
Yeah, but they are entertaining. I don't think they're really a threat, but they're entertaining. And, they got Brant Weiss on the sidelines, who probably knows less about pickleball than Britt, your wife. But the reality is he's trying to be funny and trying to make it entertaining. And I appreciate the effort over everything else. So, yeah.
Okay. The one thing I'll say, and this is a little bit not a little bit relevant, but I feel like people need to figure out what is pickleball, what is MLP. So, for example, MLP, the players or whatever, they want the fans to be rowdy. They want the energy. They want all of this stuff. They like the fire.
Pickleball, but louder.
What?
Pickleball, but louder.
Exactly. But, for example, if they're playing in a point and a fan screams or yells or talks during a point, they want a hindrance or a distraction called. To me, those things don't go hand in hand, where you want the fans to be crazy, loud, everything like that. But in the point, you want them to be dead silent.
Well, you remember, I mean, I agree. Like golf is like that, right? Like as soon as they make contact with the ball, guys yell like mashed potato and crazy stuff. But you remember a few years ago that was not a hindrance, They said it was okay to speak during the point. They didn't want this
Yes,
to
I
be.
do. Yep, I do remember that.
They
Yep.
didn't want it to be tennis,
Yep.
and they were okay with fans cheering during
Yep.
points.
But for example, so in the Orlando Squeeze versus Shock, Federico was playing. It was match point for the Shock, and I don't know exactly what happened, but somebody on the bench said something, and Federico called a distraction or wanted a distraction called, and the ref allowed it. He called a
Yeah,
distraction on the bench, and so it's
yeah.
like, are we going to allow these fans and spectators be loud
Well,
or not?
I believe that was somebody on their team called the ball out, and now there's actually a rule that they just put in place where that the bench cannot call balls out.
Okay, I thought it was just like an outburst
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. Bench can't, or the bench can't call because there was another one. Remember where Annalie was playing, and a fan yelled. It was Fives versus DC, and this is where it gets crazy because the fan yelled out,
Gotcha.
but the bench also yelled out.
Gotcha.
And DC, it was Rachel was playing against AL in the Dreambreaker, and Rachel looked at the ref, and they were getting blasted. But Rachel looked at the ref and said, "Their bench just called that out." And the ref's like, "Oh, I heard it from someone over my shoulder." And Rachel's like, "Well, the bench called it out too." And then, of course, the Fives bench, because they have Ryan Harwood, was like, "We didn't say anything." But if you
Yeah.
watch the stream, you clearly hear their bench yell out. Like honestly, like you can hear it.
Yeah.
And yes, you can hear the fan too, but their bench did yell out. So
Gotcha.
now, yeah, so now the bench just can't call balls out. I mean, we had that happen with Florida, the Michelle Esquivel controversy where Richie's like, I saw it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was in by a foot and a half.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Classic Richie. All right. Real quick, let's get into some questions. But first, we got to give a big shout out to Vulcan Pickleball. The V Pro Flight is the ball that they are using in MLP and also some PPA tournaments. People like it. The visibility is great despite the number of lumens that are shining on the court. If you're interested in getting a great ball that plays well, go to vulcansportinggoods.com and use code KOTC at checkout or KOTC25 at checkout. That'll give you the best price possible. All right, Jimmy, last but not least, we got to get into Holey Performance. Did you bring Holey with you to Florida?
of course I did. It's hot, it's humid, and I've been living off of white
The,
gummy,
the electrolytes?
getting those electrolytes. Dude, it's like, I mean, I've used this analogy before, but really it's like hanging out inside someone's mouth and it zaps your energy and it drains you. And you don't realize, that you're losing all those vitamins and minerals. And I see like all these Florida players, like you train here in Florida, like it doesn't matter where you go after that,
Yeah.
other than maybe like the dry heat of like Phoenix or the altitude. I know that they struggle there, but
Yeah.
yeah, dude, it's tough. It's like the air here is thick. That's the best
Yeah.
way. And Holy has definitely kept me going. And yeah, I really I don't know where I'd be without it. I'd probably be on the floor cramping up. So be like,
Awesome. We have an exclusive flavor. It's called White Gummy, KOTC with Holey. It's a collaboration. So if you're interested in supporting us and getting a great product, go check them out at holeyperformance.com. Use code KOTC. They also have some other incredible flavors, and they have like a sample pack that you can try a bunch of flavors for a very, very, very low price. Just make sure to use code KOTC at checkout. All right. Are you ready for questions? Jimmy, we had,
yeah,
as you imagine, a lot that rolled in. Are you ready?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Somebody said, couldn't see anything on court at MLP Columbus. That's because the lumens were low. Somebody said, why when the MLP or PPA does events, do they make the bleachers so shallow? Jimmy?
Yeah, I've heard that before. I remember Salt Lake, the way they had the bleachers set up, you couldn't really see. Pickleball's a weird, because there's not like a built-in stadium court for pickleball. It is tough at times to see certain spots on the bleachers. But I think they're just kind of trying to fit and do the best they can, and they're trying to estimate the crowd size because one, you want the bleachers to look full, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but also you want to have enough for everybody, all the paying customers. So I think it's tough to try to estimate that.
All right. Somebody said, how would it affect the landscape of pickleball if Ben and Colin left MLP completely?
I mean, look, reality is Matt and Lucy aren't playing MLP, and when they stopped playing MLP, they were pretty big names. Julian and Lauren are not playing MLP. The Brashes are not playing MLP. Now, none of them are as big of names as Ben, and I do think obviously, they're missed, so to speak, in a way. But Colin, nobody would blink and nobody would really care. In fact, I would be if Tom Dundon has any sort of control over his team, or if somebody does take control, I don't know how you don't cut Colin. Anyways, I know that that's what Colin wants. Then let him
Would you
come and
pick him up for your Black Bears?
no, absolutely not. But let him come commentate. Like he's pretty good at that. And a lot of these players that aren't playing MLP that are under contract have to commentate anyways. Then he doesn't have to play it. And go get AJ Kohler or Martin Emmerich or one of those players. They're better anyways. Those guys are better than him. Ben, I
Cur-
think obviously people would miss Ben, but nobody's gonna miss Ben if he plays like he is right now.
I think myself included. I mean, if I stopped playing, nobody would even blink about that. But I think people are overestimating. I think they'd be shocked at how quickly people forget about other players, as sad as it is.
Yeah.
But for example, I mean, there's a couple tournaments when Ben or Annalise not there, and a lot of spectators love it because it's new competition, it's new blood, it's new
Yeah.
faces in the semis and the finals.
One of the arguments for MLP is that you don't see Ben Johns winning every single week,
Yeah.
right? And Ben's team doesn't play in every MLP, and they're just fine.
Yeah.
So
Okay, somebody said, curious your thoughts on Alshon being on the Waters bench at the U.S. Open.
yeah, I thought it was cool. I mean, look, Lee coaches him. He lives in the area. I'm sure that it was just one of those things where he was like, let me come coach you guys. I mean, they ended up winning. AL and Lee won the U.S. Open again, back-to-back years. That's pretty cool. I mean, they played what Megan Fudge and was it Jilly B?
I think they normally play together, yeah.
I didn't even watch it to be the finals, but anyways, yeah, I think that was really cool, and I thought it was cool. AL and Agassi, like we could talk about that a little bit. Um, I think he showed well. He got eyes on the sport, right? But at the end of the day, he's 55 years old. And had Andre Agassi and Annalie made a deep run, I think it would have been a bad look for the sport because the casual fan has no idea the level of the US Open compared to a PPA event.
Yeah.
And so all you would have seen is Andre Agassi wins Pickleball US Open. And I think it wouldn't have looked good. So I think it worked out perfect, right? They beat the 13-year-old and the 16-year-old who were pretty good players, but they struggled and won 3 games. They lost to some very, very, solid players, but still low level pros that probably don't get out of qualies at PPA events. And, Agassi got a bunch of eyeballs on it, and we all move on. And
Real
pro
quick, your
pickleball
thoughts
is
on
hard.
Will House's statement saying not many PPA players would be able to triple crown on APP.
Yeah, I mean,
Agree or
look,
disagree?
I mean, look, the reality is this is that there's one monster in men's that you have to get through, and it's Chris Hayworth. Chris Hayworth is the only, I mean, Will House beat him once. That's how he got his triple crown. But remember, Chris Hayworth went an entire year without losing men's singles. And then he came to PPA and he won a PPA.
Hmm.
Like it's not like Chris Hayworth is a guy that's like a Will Howells. No
But
offense
he's
to
also
Will.
lost quite a bit in PPAs.
Sure, but he's not like a Will Howells who is dominating APPs with no PPA success.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He has PPA success.
Yes,
And
I
so
agree.
I think that he's the hardest guy to get through on the men's side. I think that there's guys that could obviously there's a dozen guys that could beat him. So I would say that anybody in your top 10 to 15 could triple crown.
Okay.
Hayworth would be the hardest thing that could triple crown.
Yeah.
I think that anybody in the top 20 could win men's and win mixed. I really believe that. On the flip side, on the women's side, I mean, I could go 15 deep. That would win it.
Okay. Do we have any pros coming onto the show soon?
On to what? The show?
KOTC.
Yeah, I mean, we can get whoever you want. Who do we want on?
That's what somebody said. Any pros coming onto the show soon?
Yeah, we have the Dreambreaker doc being released, the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can get pros. We kind of went away from that a little bit,
We like to
but
do them in person as much as we can. We feel like the
yeah.
vibes and everything is a lot more authentic and it captures the feelings and the moments a lot better than doing this remote stuff. But yeah, we might try to get a couple other players on. Somebody said, any Utah Black Diamonds merch in the works? Jimmy, where are we at with Utah Black Diamonds merch?
I mean, you got to call Pardo and Zaya Activewear, right? See what they got for you.
Exactly.
Or what you can do is same thing Jeannie Bouchard did when you guys picked her up, and I think she used the University of Utah blackout tee that
Hey,
they sold.
Utah.
They sold at one of their games. It just said Utah across the front.
All right. Somebody said, do you love or hate that the Flames goof off and joke around while having a losing record?
Like I said, at least they're entertaining, and I don't think they're tanking. I just think they're bad,
Mhm.
and so I give them credit. Like at the end of the day, they know exactly who they are. They're like the best way to describe them is they're the Savannah Bananas of pickleball. And I don't think Tyson probably loves that because I do think he is competitive. I think he's got that dog in him. Um, I think he's competitive. He probably doesn't love it. But and Jesse showed a competitive fire, right? Like Jesse's been playing awesome. But Jeannie is Jeannie and Jack is Jack. And so yeah, I mean, and then their ownership group is trying to get eyeballs and they've done it.
Yeah. Somebody said, thoughts on Samantha Parker? Does she have potential to be a top player?
Federico Stocksrud is the MVP of a very, 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 very early season MLP right now. And he has turned Samantha Parker into a good player. And what I mean by that is he has brought her along and clearly he's been super supportive and playing with Fed has really helped her.
Yeah.
And Dylan, obviously playing with, that whole squad, right? But yeah, she looks good. Like she is, we played against her last year at BCO. She filled in for the Breakers. I believe it was the Breakers. Unfortunately, yeah, I think that she filled in because that was when they had Jill, and they just traded for Elise, and Jill opted out. So they played Retger and Samantha Parker, and they also played Grayson Golden.
Gotcha.
And Colin Schick, I think, was the only normal player on their team.
Yeah.
Um, and Samantha was pretty solid then too. We talked to her after, we're like, hey, she played well. But I think she's had kind of a full-time job. And anyways, yeah, she's good. I think she's the number one new female right now. Even
Okay.
though she's been around a while, she's the number one new to MLP female.
Are there any pros on tour that are universally unliked?
Besides Colin. I mean, yeah, I think there's lots of them. I think there's pros that don't like you. I think there's probably pros that don't like Anna Bright. There's probably pros that don't like James Ignatowicz, that don't like Hayden and how he acts,
Yeah.
right? Don't like Jack or Tyson or whoever. Universally, like where it's like the majority of people don't like them. I haven't heard that like from anyone in specific. I think there's people that are annoying, but I don't think there's anybody that they're like, I freaking where everybody's like, we hate this guy.
What is wrong with the Chicago Slice? They should be contending for the playoffs, but are not good right now.
Callie and Viv aren't they're two complementary pieces, number one. There's no alpha there, right? They're both complementary pieces, and so they don't have that alpha female. Number two, we've seen Ignatowicz for a year and a half be extremely inconsistent, right? His highs are super good, his lows are his floor is 4-0, 4-5. I mean, maybe that's too much, but his floor is very low. And then Max Freeman has done nothing. He's had one good run in a PPA, and everybody was jumping all over him, thinking he was the next big thing, and he's yet to prove himself.
Yeah.
So I think you have four. In fact, if you look at that team, I think you have four complementary pieces and no alphas and nobody that can carry that team.
Yeah.
If you split those four up and you put them on different teams, like if you take Callie and you put her on Orlando, or you take Vivian David and you put her next to Jesse, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
then I think all those players have success, but together it just doesn't work.
So what you're saying is they needed Jim Kloss to draft their team, and they wouldn't have had that issue.
Well, I mean, they just drafted four right side players, to be honest, four betas.
Somebody said, are right side men overall better than their left side men counterparts? For example, Christian Alshon, Andre Daskew, Big H, and Fed.
Well, Fed's a left side guy. Or are they saying Hayden's better than Fed?
Yeah, I think that.
Well,
Well,
look,
they're
dude,
asking the question.
Hayden plays the left with Gabe, and he's really good at it. He's fine on the left.
Yeah, I think they're just different roles. I think when you're on the right side, if you're righty, then the common theme is that you're going to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more consistent, a little bit more defensive. And traditionally speaking, the left side player will be more aggressive.
Also, do you not think like, look, Christian did something very, very smart. Okay, he he was an up and coming player, but he wasn't getting great partners at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did was he went and he branded himself as a right side specialist, and he said, "I'm going to get really, really good on the right." And now all of these top players started saying, "Hey, come play with me, play with me, play with me." And then he started getting more and more wins, and now he kind of has his pick, right?
Yeah. I have a theory. So, for example, Alshon,
Yeah,
he dubs himself as the right side specialist or whatever it is. I still bet deep down they would prefer to play the left side.
I think so too. I think he would 100% would rather play the left, but he's kind of pigeonholed himself. And the reality is if Alshon's on the left, who's he getting on the right, and are they good enough to win? Like Alshon and Daesky are going to win or have a chance to win, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do Alshon and Dylan Frazier have the same chance if he's on Alshon's on the left and Dylan's on the right?
yeah.
I don't think it's as great of a chance.
Okay, this person put in somebody's name for this, but I'm going to leave it blank and see if you can guess. They said, is so and so the most overrated pickleball player right now? Male that we're talking about.
Colin Johns?
No.
Over oh, Ignatowicz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, he is 100%. He's just like I said, he's not very good right now.
All right, this is a good question. Has Todd Fote proved himself in MLP to be Utah's best male pro?
No, I told you Todd was not good. I watched Atlanta play Miami, and Todd was not good. Right? Like he wasn't. And honestly, like I don't know how Leanne keeps him. She will because she's a nice human, but I don't know how you keep him when AJ Cole or Martin Emmerich are sitting there.
Traditional or rally?
I still really like Rally for MLP, but
I don't mind rally, but I'm surprised at how energetic traditional is in MLP. I thought it would take
yeah,
away a lot of it.
I agree. I mean, it came back. I think in Columbus, it was way more. There's better matchups because you had essentially one really good team, and then you had like seven mediocre teams, and
Yeah.
it actually helped the competitiveness.
Jimmy, spell Tua Taga.
Tago Vailoa.
Yeah.
All right, Tuatagovailoa.
You missed an A.
Tago Vailoa. No, I didn't.
Why is Will Howell so insufferable with his APP comparison?
Because he's playing APP, so he wants to make himself feel relevant and feel like, hey, I'm really good. I'm just not over in PPA yet, but I promise you guys I'm good. And he is good. He's just not number 8 in the world. And I'm not saying he's not number 8 talent, but he hasn't proven that he's number 8 yet. Eric Tice.
um, somebody's asking about Jay DeVilliers. They said, did Jay leave Vulcan? I saw him playing with a Yola this last weekend. Do you want to get into that at all?
Yeah, I mean, just from our understanding is that his contract was up with Vulcan and it wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't renewed or they came to a mutual agreement, but his contract was up and now Jay is a free agent on the market. And it looks like he's trying Yola.
Who are the fakest players? Example, fans think they are very nice, but they're actually divas.
That's actually a good one. Uh, I haven't had like any like bad interactions personally, but um, I don't think Rachel's like the nicest person.
Are you going to finally tell us what that
There's
thing was you were
there's
talking
nothing.
about?
I'm just saying I just don't think she is.
Did she
I
call
don't.
you out on it?
She may be very nice to other fans. I just my own personal opinion.
Okay.
I think most players though are very humble and they like, they understand that like without fans we don't even have a sport.
Okay. All right, we'll do a couple more.
By the way, there's the opposite. There's like the Kate Faheys who are on the court. You think that they're just stone cold killers, and then off the court, they're the nicest people ever.
Yeah.
Kate is 100% like that.
But would you consider that as being fake? I think
I
technically
don't
you
know.
would be.
I mean, I just think, I mean, I've kind of used the UFC comparison. There's certain fighters that have to hate their opponents. They can't punch them in the face unless they hate them, and I think that that's Kate. But then they leave it there. I think that's Hayden too.
All right, Jimmy, getting into your MLP, how will Jimmy's Bears compete with the Flash, Fives, and or Shock once they get promoted? It seems impossible.
Yeah, I mean, look, for us, I mean, we got a long ways to go. I think we did try to pick players that had potential and that, we once we do get promoted that, hopefully they blossom into superstars. But it's really hard. Like we're gonna have to figure out, get through this season first. Obviously, we got a long ways to go, and then we're gonna have to figure out what our strategy is. Do we go out and spend a ton of money, like say a Chicago Slice did, and they spend a lot of money for what, right? Or do we tank a season like the SoCal Hard Eights did
Ben
and
Johns?
try and figure, yeah, and then also, Ben Johns is a free agent next year, right? In fact, Ben, here's the other thing. I mean, next year, there could be Ben and Anna Bright, and there could be a lot of big names that are free agents.
Okay, last question. Somebody said, hot take, should MLP be ladder play? Nobody wants to see a 4-0 win. It's boring.
Yeah, I hate playing. I know that they do it for differential, but I do wish that after if it was 3-0, you didn't have to play the fourth game.
Yeah. My personal opinion, I don't think it's bad when there are 4-0 wins or 3-1. I mean, you see it all the time in NFL games or basketball games when there's just blowouts. Sometimes the
Yeah.
players don't perform or just one team is significantly better. And
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
just
think it makes you appreciate the better teams or the weaker teams or whatever it might be. And so I don't think, I mean, MLP, they want every single game to be close. And that was one of my issues with rally scoring is that it almost artificially made every game go 20, 24, 24 or whatever it is. But with traditional, like you see players putting in the work and then you see that actually paying off in these tournaments. And so me personally, I don't mind it because at the end of the year, they'll have the end of the year tournament and you'll see the better matches there, supposedly.
yeah, I agree. So
Jimmy, anything else?
no, I think that's it.
How many tank tops did you bring?
0. I'm not you, dog.
Are we going
We'll
shirtless? Are we going shirtless?
no. What was I gonna say now? Atlanta next week?
Yeah, so we'll still do one more when they do the draws. But yeah, that's next week. Yeah, but that's a progressive. That's a cup or whatever it is. So it'll be a big tournament.
Yeah, good. All right.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
What's the
Yeah.
craziest thing that's happened in Florida? I mean, Florida is known for crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any like meth out. I stayed away from Daytona, thankfully. Nobody's wrestling crocodiles or, so far it's been pretty chill. The humidity though is rough.
Did you ever see that trend where you like typed in Florida man and then your birthday or whatever it was?
Yeah, I did do that. Actually, do you know there's like a Netflix TV show called Florida Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did remember. I do remember that. It makes sense that like Graham lives in Florida, and you know, it fits every stereotype.
Wasn't he coming out of the closet when we started the video though?
What are you talking about?
With you? Wasn't he in the closet with you?
Wow, no, what,
I'm
Tyler?
pretty
What is
sure I saw you
happening?
two coming out of the closet.
No, listen, not that there's anything wrong with that. I do
You're
you.
getting really red right now.
No, I just do you, Graham.
Oh my gosh. All right, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure. You are making your way back to Utah this Friday, so
Yeah. So
I thought
we'll
you were about to sneeze right there.
no, I thought I was too, but
How's the jet lag doing?
I mean, a couple hours is a lot for me.
All right, make sure to stay on. If you made it this far, please do us a big favor. Hit that like and subscribe button. It helps this channel grow. It helps Jimmy be able to go to Florida more often, which he really wants to get out to. We will see you guys next time.